Hey, it's Tom. Thanks for joining me today. In this how-to tutorial, we're going to cover one of the lessons from my outdoor lighting workshop that I presented with Anne-Marie Shoemate for the Arizona Professional Photographers Association. We had a great time up in Prescott, Arizona. We beat the heat of the Phoenix summer and had an enjoyable day learning all about lighting, including natural light and off-camera flash. Then in the afternoon segment, we enhanced some of the images in Lightroom and Photoshop. In the workshop, we used natural light. We also learned how to enhance it using reflectors or even negative fill like I'm doing here with Ayana. And then we went to a new location and used off-camera flash and how to work with bright midday sun. But what I want to show you is one of the easiest ways to get great outdoor portraits using just natural light. We're not using any reflectors. We're not using any off-camera flash. We're just looking for direction of light. We're going to use a pose to flatter the subject by adding shape and form. And then we're going to just make the subject pop. So to give you a little background information of the shot of Teena, we were at the courthouse in downtown Prescott, and it has these beautiful columns that you can see on each side. And then there were two more on the left side that we don't see here. So up here where it says model, those are the two columns that you see. And one of the easiest ways to find good lighting is just to stand where your model is going to be and take a look around the surroundings. So from the courthouse steps, we had trees on one side and even a tree off to the other side. But we did have some open sky, and that open sky gave us a nice direction of light. That is the first thing I want to find, is a great direction of light when I'm just using available light. So here Teena is looking off into that open sky, and that is what's giving that direction of light. Then coming up with a pose to add shape and form. An easy tip that works great is to have the body face away from the light and then turn the face towards the light. And that's going to add depth and dimension to the body. So once we have our person looking great, it's time to make them pop. So for this shoot, I was using a Nikon Z6 III with a new lens from Case. It's an 85 1.4. It is my new favorite 85mm lens. As you can see in the photo, it's very small, lightweight, easy to carry around for the entire shoot. It is super sharp. And when you shoot wide open, the subject just pops off the background. So now that we did all three things, we found the direction of light, we came up with a pose that is very flattering, it adds shape and form, the body is away from the light, the face is turned towards the light, the subject does pop off the background, shooting wide open. I think I was at 1.6 with the Case 85 1.4. So let's go into Lightroom and see how we went from the image on the left to the image on the right. And think about some of the things that we need to fix. Obviously, the color balance is off, and I used a Weibel card, so I'm going to show you how to get great color using that card. So once we correct for the white balance, there's a couple things that I'll want to do. One, again, this was all natural light. We had a reflector just laying down on the ground doing nothing. 30 photographers in a small area. There was equipment and bags all over the place. So that's going to be easy to remove. This little pattern on the lower left side is a little annoying. We'll easily remove that. And then my in-camera cropping could have definitely been improved. I'm a little tight. I would love to have more headspace and probably more room on the right side. So we'll be able to do that in Photoshop. So here are the images of Teena. I'm going to select them all, right click, go to develop settings and reset. One of the easiest ways to get great white balance is to use the Weibull gray card. And then we'll hit D to go into develop. I'm going to select all the images from this location. I'm going to make sure auto sync is on. I'm going to grab the white balance selector and just click on the card. It's automatically going to give the correct white balance for all the images. Going to hit the letter W to put the eyedropper back and navigate to the image using the arrow keys. I still have all the images select because I was shooting in manual. So if we take a look at the ISO, it was ISO 100. It was again the case 85mm lens, and I was shooting at f1.6 at 500th of a second. Since everything was shot in manual, if I was underexposed or overexposed, I could correct this one image and everything else would be adjusted. I'm probably going to bring up the exposure just a touch. So that's a super fast way to color correct. So now that we have the proper white balance and we corrected the exposure, let's work on making Teena pop a little bit more. Since I'm working on this specific image now, I'm just going to deselect everything and select the one image we want to enhance. So let's go into masking. I'm going to hit the letter K for the brush. My flow is set at 30. I'm going to do Control or Command plus, zoom in a little bit, and I'm just going around the edge of Teena's face. And then with the exposure, we're just going to bring that up a little bit and get a little bit of a pop. If we want to be real precise, we could go into subtract and do a brush and just do the shadow side of her nose to remove highlights there. So we can see a before and after if we click on the eyeball. So that was before and after. So that may be just a touch bright. Let's bring that down. And again, that's looking good now. So it is a full-length portrait. We don't have to be super precise with our mask. There is a mask for subject that would select her facial skin, but that's going to brighten up the shadow side as well. So that's why I used just a brush and again just went down the edge of the face to give a little bit more of a highlight. Sometimes I love to use LUTs to enhance images, make them pop, or get the color tone how I'd like. Photoshop and Lightroom really don't have a great way to use LUTs where you can actually see in real time what they're doing. Programs like Neo and On1 Photo Raw, Aperty, all have LUTs that you can choose to get great looks. When I'm doing a Lightroom workflow, whether it's Lightroom, Lightroom Classic like we're using now, or Camera Raw, I love Luxe Lens. A lot of their presets get me the look that I want as if I was using LUTs. One of the ones that I love is Color Made Fashion and Editorial. I do have links below to save you 20% off their presets. Color Made Fashion and Editorial is one of my favorite ones that they offer, and these are fairly inexpensive, under $20 for the preset. And again, you're going to save 20% off of that using my link. So if we go over there, we can just kind of highlight and take a look at what they're doing. The reason I love their presets is they don't show like a image that's underexposed by 3 stops and terrible color and then have some magical preset that makes that one image look great. If you just correct for the exposure and you go over Luxe Lens's presets, they're going to enhance those images. So pretty much everything is going to look great once you correct for exposure and white balance. But you can quickly go over and select one that you like. So for this, I like how refined wash is looking, so let's click on that. One of the nice things about using presets in Lightroom or Lightroom Classic is you can use the amount dial and make it stronger or weaker depending on what you'd like. All right, so that is looking awesome there. So we're using refined wash from the Fashion and Editorial collection. So while I love the texture and the color palette that refined wash is adding to this image, it is being a little bit brutal on this skin texture. But that's something that we're going to enhance in Photoshop. But before we go into Photoshop, let's work on the hair and enhance that a little bit. So I'm going to hit Shift W. We're going to create a new mask. This time we are going to select people and click on person 1. And this time I don't want the entire person, I just want her hair. And we'll create a mask. So I'm going to just add a little exposure, decrease the contrast a bit, and brighten the whites just to give her a little bit highlight in the hair. So most of her hair is looking great now, but there is some trouble areas here that we don't need. So I'm going to subtract, use a brush, bring up the flow a bit, use the bracket key to increase the size of the brush, and just go over some of these edges here. Let's turn off the mask and make sure everything is looking good now. And bring my flow up just to make sure I don't miss anything here. And once we're happy with how that looks, we're ready to go into Photoshop. Gonna right click on the image and edit in Photoshop. All right, so now we have the image of Teena opened in Photoshop. Before we do the crop and generative expand, let's get rid of a couple things using the remove tool, which is the letter J. On the mode for this, I'm going to use AI, so generative AI is on. One of the cool things now is this doesn't use any of our credits. So let's use the bracket key to make the brush a little bit larger and go over some of the troubling areas. Next, let's get rid of this reflector. And there's one black spot under her dress that's bugging me as well. So let's get rid of that. So now that we removed all the major distractions, let's use the crop tool and generative expand to add a little space to the top and side of this image. So I'm going to hit the letter C for crop. Under fill, I am going to select generative expand. So I'm going to take a little bit off the bottom and add some to the top and right side. And I'm also going to click on the outside of the image so we can straighten it just a touch. And once I'm happy with that, we'll hit the check mark. And this will use one of our generative AI credits, but it will give us 3 different variations. All right, so that one's looking pretty good. That one's nice as well. And that one's good. And if we're unhappy with that, we can always click on generate and it will give us 3 more versions. I like this third option now, but I am going to just adjust it a little bit. Let's add a new layer, hit the letter J again, and just fix this one area up top. And just fix this one edge. And I think that is looking great. So we went from here to here. I'm going to flatten the image. And one final thing, I'm going to go into filter, camera raw filter, and let's add a vignette. Hit OK. All right, so we have a great image here. Final thing that we're going to do is just enhance the skin a little bit. And the easiest thing for this is a plugin from Retouch for Me. You can either use credits, or if you own the plugins like I do, use those plugins. The credits are great because you have access to all of the different plugins, and you can use as many as you want, including all of them for 1 credit. I'm going to use the ones that I have: Heal, Dodge and Burn, and Portrait Volume. Let's zoom in a little bit with Control Plus. And let's take a look at what Retouch for Me will do. So I'm going to click on Retouch. It's going to run these 3 filters and put them on separate layers, so I could adjust them as well afterwards. And just like that, amazing. So here I'm holding down the Alt key, clicking on the eye on the background layer so we can see before and after. Looks awesome. And add a new layer. One final thing that's bugging me is the hair underneath from her chin to neck. So let's just go over that and see what the remove tool does, and it did a great job. Super quick, we went from here to here. Retouching looks great. We added room on the top, we added room on the side, we took out the reflector, we got rid of those black diamonds, and this image of Teena looks amazing. So using just natural light, no reflectors, no off-camera flash, just finding that direction of light, selecting a pose with her body away from the light to add shape and form, using the 85mm 1.4 lens from Case to make the subject just pop off the background. Then just using a few tools in Lightroom, including the Weibel white balance card to select the proper white balance, using the presets from Luxe Lens, taking it into Photoshop, using generative AI to get the crop we want, and making a few corrections to remove the reflector and the black squares in the bottom left corner. We have an amazing image of Teena. If you enjoyed the tutorial, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see future video tutorials. If you have any comments or questions or suggestions for future videos, be sure to leave them below. I have discount links down below as well. Or you can visit my website using the QR code here on my screen. That will take you to my website, and head over to the For Photographers section. This will give you links to a lot of the equipment that I use. So today we were looking at the 85mm 1.4 lens from Case that you can get on Amazon for Sony or E-mount. Also, we used the Weibel card. $20 to get perfect white balance. This one's a no-brainer. Click on that link. And we used plugins from Retouch for Me for the skin, and then some presets from Luxe Lens. And if you use those links, you're going to save 20%. So until next time, keep shooting.